Welcome back to the channel into another WNBA video. We got a 4-game slate to go over today. Now, typically, we would dive into each of those games. We'd break them down. We'd analyze them. I'd talk about which way that I was leaning as far as the points and the spread. Then I'd also talk about any player props for each of those games that I found that I like. But today, we are going to switch it up and do it just a little bit differently. Just didn't really have the time today to dive into 4 games and give you guys a proper breakdown. And I never want to get on here and half-ass things and give you guys inaccurate information or throw picks up that I'm not confident in. So with all that said, what we're going to do is look at 5 specific picks that I found over the course of these 4 games. So we'll get into those here in a second, but first, we got to recap our picks from yesterday, what we took and how that went down. Man, it went down very sweaty. That's the best way to put it. Literally both of these bets land on the hook, right? We're on the right side of one. We're on the wrong side of one. We took Ezi Mabagor of Seattle under 7.5 rebounds. We win this one, man, just barely. She lands at 7. She was sitting on 5 for a good minute, right? And then she pulls down 2 within the last 2 minutes of the game. And I'm just sweating that last 30, 35 seconds. And then we took the liberty laying 7.5. We don't cash on this one. We lose this one on the hook. They only win by 7. They couldn't get just one more point for us, right? So 1-1 night on the night. So we're going to dive into these, man. Let's have a winning night tonight. And we're going to be looking at 5 picks now. So we're going to jump over here to Outlier. I'm looking at Marina Mabry, her points over 12.5. Now, we cashed on a handful of these in a row. And then she came out and stunk it up in the last game, right? Just 2 points. And the books just overly adjusted, in my opinion. They dropped her total down to 12.5. And at minus 104 odds as well. Now, the great thing about Outlier, we can always come over here to this little drop down, and it's going to show us whatever books that these player props are available on. Now, right now, we can only find this one on Underdog and FanDuel, but it's also going to show us the odds, right? Underdog, we're sitting at minus 120. FanDuel, we're sitting at minus 104. So you can always pop over here on Outlier to find the best odds. But like I said, we're looking at her points over 12.5. Now, Outlier also has these insights, and that's basically just like a trend, right? And this one here specifically is Marina Mabry has exceeded 12.5 points in 5 of her last 6 games. She's hitting at an 83% rate until that 2-point dud, right? But if we look down here at the supporting stats here, she's averaging over 24 minutes in all these games, only 14 minutes against Seattle. But if we look at her in her last 5, she is still hitting this at an 80% rate. If we can push it back even further to her last 10, she's smacking that at a 70% rate, hitting 7 out of 10 times. It's just green across the board, guys. We can look down here and see this. Her last 5, the last 10 is what we're on right now. Last 20, she's hitting at a 60% rate. Head-to-head's green. 2024 is green. Last year's green. Like I said, man, head-to-head on the year, these are the 2 games that she's played against the Aces this year. Now, granted, these were with the Chicago Sky. But honestly, I like her more in a scoring role with Connecticut than I did with Chicago. She was Chicago's second leader in score, don't get me wrong, but she was asked to do a lot more in Chicago. She was facilitating the ball a lot more, running the point a lot more. Here in Connecticut, man, they've got point guards, you know what I mean? She's not tasked with that kind of responsibility. She's coming off the bench. She's coming off the bench to score. If we look at the Aces for their points allowed, they're only 7th in the league, right? And then against guards, it's only 6th, middle of the pack. So I like our chances here. I like Marina Mabry bouncing back. And then I'm also going to be looking at Marina Mabry, her 3s over 1.5. She loves to shoot it from outside, guys. And if we look down here, here's another one of these insights. Now, she has exceeded 1.5 3-pointers in 12 of her last 15 games. That's an 80% hit rate over the last 15 games. Man, you got to love it. And then we can push it back even further, man. Look at her last 20. She's still smacking that at a 75% rate on the season in her last 20 games. Let's look at it on the season. A 73% rate. So 24 out of the 33 games played, she has hit over this number. And look at it. She clears that line a lot. It's not like she's just getting over that thing, man. There's plenty of 4s in there, plenty of 3s, a couple times where she's hit 5. She hit 6 over here. Like, she is smacking this number, and she's doing it well, right? And then the thing that I like the most, here, let's pop the head-to-head real quick. You got to love that. That's a lot of green going up against these Aces. And if we hop over here and we look at the Aces and their 3-point defense, man, they're only sitting at ninth. And then specifically against guards, it only jumps up to seventh. So I like Marina Mabry, man. I like her bouncing back, like I said, and catching the points there. I like her with the three-pointers as well, over 1.5. Now, this next one is scary. I am not going to hold you guys. I'm a little hesitant. But the numbers back it up, man. We're looking at Kelsey Mitchell, her points under 21.5. And I know it's crazy, right, to look at a Kelsey Mitchell prop for points and look at the under with as on fire as she's been since the Olympic break. And we look down here, there's a lot of red, right, in the last 10, but let's look at this insight from Outlier right here. She has failed to exceed 21.5 points in 13 of her last 17 games when she's played against top 5 defenses. She's actually averaging just 17.5 in that. So 13 of those 17 games, that's a 76% hit rate for the under. And the biggest thing here is we got to look at it head to head, right? She's smacked underneath when facing the Minnesota Lynx twice now. We're close. She's hitting at 21 points, right? But let's look at the Lynx, man, and their points allowed for defense. They're sitting at second, and then against guards, also second. Minnesota has a solid defense and solid around the perimeter as well. So it's a scary one, like I said, but it's one that I like, and we can catch it at minus 119 on Prize Picks and Underdog right now. The next prop I'm looking at is going to be Derica Hamby of the Sparks, her points under 16.5. And we have another insight from Outlier. Now, she has failed to exceed this number in 8 of her last 10 games. She's hitting at a 80% rate to the under. And look, these two that she scored, look, they had to score 94 points against Liberty to make this one happen here for her to hit 21. And then this other one against Dallas's horrid defense. Now, this is surprising. We got to give it to her, man. New York has a great defense, but obviously the Sparks came to play in this one. They beat the Liberty in this game by 6. If you took the Sparks on the money line, you are a genius. But anyways, like I said, man, she's smacking under this number at a very consistent rate. And then just if we look in her last 5, she's hitting that at a 60% rate. But if we push it back to her last 20, she's still smacking at a 60% rate, 12 out of 20 times. And then head to head, she has hit in 5 of her last 6 times facing the Chicago Sky team. She's sitting at the 4 position. For points allowed, Chicago is sitting at 4th. So you got to like that there. Chicago does have a good defense. She is going to be down low going up against Angel Reese and Camila Cardoso. Look, man, that's trouble, right? It's going to be rough. And they've given Asia Wilson headaches, so they're definitely going to give Derica Hamby a run for her money. I got one more prop that I found that I like. It's Jordan Canada of the Dream. Her points over 9.5. We can find this right now on FanDuel for minus 112. You got to love it, man. I like the odds right here for this one. If we look at her in her last 10, she has hit this at a 70% rate. Now, let's look at her head-to-head against the Wings. Damn, that's a lot of green, right? You got to love it. That's what we'd like to see right there. And then if we look at this insight from Outlier, now in 14 of her last 18 games versus bottom 5 defenses, she has hit the over in this for a 78% rate. Now, let's pop over here as well. We got to check out how Dallas does for points allowed. Now, overall, dead last. Against guards, 11th. Second to last. So, man, I like this here. This is a low number for Jordan, I feel like, especially when you consider the fact, like I said, that she has hit this in 14 of the last 18 times she has faced bottom 5 defenses. She's actually averaging just under 13 points per game in those games there. So, I like this one here as well. Jordan Canada of the Dream, her points over 9.5. So, guys, that is going to wrap it up. I hope you guys enjoyed the content today. I'm sorry that it is a shortened version. Just bear with me. I will definitely get back to the full breakdowns. Like I said, just over this weekend even. I have plenty of time over the weekend. I can get some nice rest tomorrow night. We'll be right back at it, ready to get some money over the weekend. Man, we're going to cash on the W. We're going to watch some NFL in the meantime as well. It's a great time, man. This is my favorite time of year. Football coming back around. Basketball still going. Then once the WNBA is gone, NBA will be right around the corner. You got to love it, man. I love fall. This is the best time. So, that's enough rambling on from me. I am going to go watch this Thursday night football game, get this edited, get it uploaded for you guys, and I will see you on the next video. Oh, wait, but before I do, you see that like button down there? Please do not forget to smash that one time for me. And if you have not hit subscribe already, please do. That way you don't miss out on any of the content that we are dropping daily. And like I said, it's normally a much more complex and in-depth breakdown and analysis of all these games if you're new to the channel. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. That way you aren't missing out on a thing that we are dropping over here on the Guy Boston Sports channel. That's going to do it, guys. Have a great night. Best of luck to everybody. I'll see you on the next video.